Hey everyone, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. I woke up today, and after seeing an article about the quarterback tiers in the NFL, 8 GMs, 10 head coaches, 15 coordinators, all got together secretly and gave their votes. I will say this, Kirk Cousins is probably in the tier he should be, tier 2, but Jalen Hurts, the disrespect of Jalen Hurts, I don't understand it. We'll talk about that next, as well as the Daily 3 coming up. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. We got Gabe Henderson joining us today, Vikings insider, Vikings Entertainment Network, aficionado, does everything for the Vikings. You saw him recently on the NFL Network, Weekend Together. So we got Gabe Henderson joining us, but we got to talk about these quarterbacks because I'm sick and tired of this. And even Kirk Cousins, in my opinion, I know it's no order, but we'll talk about where these quarterbacks fall and where I think these teams voted from next on the Ron Johnson Show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And it starts now.
Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson. This is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. I love talking about quarterbacks. When they vote for these tiers, in my opinion, I feel like some people just like to, I say this all the time, people just like to push our buttons. Today's button got pushed, and we got to talk about it. Myself and Sam Ekstrom, we just want you to know this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Just visit FanDuel.com/Locked On to make every moment more. And this FanDuel the early over-unders will make the entire season more. Why? Because one of them out there, people, is Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter is a Minnesota Viking. There's now a FanDuel. I'm putting money on it. I'm letting you know now. I'm not going to tell you exactly what and when, but I'm putting money on this. On Danielle Hunter's sacks. I'll give you the number and how many sacks I think he'll get and where you should put your money with FanDuel towards the end of the show. Just stick around for the Daily 3 for that. But again, I'm Ron Johnson, and I'm going to bring my producer to the show, Sam Ekstrom. But Sam, we got to talk about this quarterback tier crap. So yeah. Athletic put it out there. You mentioned that before we started the show. They went out and got 50 NFL insiders. So they had 8 GMs, 10 execs, 10 head coaches, 15 coordinators, and a partridge and a pear tree. And when you think about this list, like just the quarterbacks and where they fall, like I said, Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, should be in tier 1. There's no question.
Right.
Cousins, I feel like tier 2 fits when you look at who's around him in tier 2. But here's tier 1. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers. You can't argue that. Tier 2. Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, Deshaun Watson, Kirk Cousins. You can't argue that. But then they put Justin Herbert in tier 1. They put Jalen Hurts in tier 2. I think you flip those two. I think if you flip those two, your list is dead spot on. Justin Herbert has not done anything. He's not proven he can actually win games. You put him in tier 2 with those other quarterbacks. You put Jalen Hurts. He went to the Super Bowl. I mean, he was one of the top rushing passing quarterbacks in the NFL. He's one of the strongest quarterbacks in the NFL. He's one of the toughest quarterbacks in the NFL. And you guys all formulated your lips and your pencils and your text messages back to these analysts that you're their insider. And you have the audacity to say Jalen Hurts is below Justin Herbert. I don't know what this is. And again, these are NFL coaches, but only 10. These are coordinators. They might hate Jalen Hurts for how, because a lot of people don't like the Eagles anyway. Like, let's be real. People don't like the Eagles, Sam. We know that.
Yeah.
People don't like Nick Sirianni. They don't like his antics, how he acts when he beat the Colts. How about this is for Frank Wright. You know, like they don't like Nick Sirianni. They don't like the sneaking the quarterback for 5 yards. They don't like the push in the pile. That's why they all went and voted to get that thrown out of the game. You can no longer push the pile. Blah, blah, blah. So, like, we know where people feel like Jalen Hurts is.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at this list, you go down to tier 3, you got Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray is too high in tier 3, but you got Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, Jared Goff, Russell Wilson, Tua Tagovailoa, Jimmy Garoppolo, Daniel Jones, who everybody said was better than Kirk Cousins. Nobody has him up there. Geno Smith, Justin Fields, who they said was better than Kirk Cousins, but he's not up there. Ryan Tannehill and Mac Jones. So as far as, like I said, this list is pretty spot on. I will say, these NFL execs, these coaches, Brock Purdy, Kenny Pickett, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder, and Gardner Minshew in 4, which sounds like just a bunch of young guys who haven't had a lot of time yet under center. 3 seems like a bunch of mid-level guys that have a lot to prove. 2 feels like proven commodities, just have to like win the big game. And then 1 seems like lights out, these are great quarterbacks. That's why I don't understand why Justin Herbert is in there. He's not proven to be a lights out number 1. I would have been okay if they just put Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers in tier 1 and then put Herbert down there with Jalen Hurts. Even that would have been okay. But the fact that you put Herbert in 1 and Jalen Hurts in 2, I just don't get it. I don't get it, Sam. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. So of all these QB tiers that we've looked at this summer, like a lot of them are kind of put together by one person or one outlet, or you're not even sure who did it. Right. I would like to give this list more credibility because you've got a quarter of the GMs, a third of the head coaches, half the coordinators almost. Like those are credible people, but that one mistake does kind of like throw me for a loop. How do you put Justin Herbert up in tier 1 with his resume compared to Jalen Hurts' resume? Now, I know Jalen Hurts, it's kind of been just one really good year for him. I guess he doesn't have like multiple years of doing this on his track record. I guess you could say Herbert's had the stats for 3 years now, but he has no playoff wins. And he blew a big lead last year in the playoffs. And that really is my only gripe. I think that Brock Purdy could justify being in tier 3 after what he did last year. He didn't lose a game.
Correct.
Russell Wilson, can you imagine him being in tier 3 like 2 years ago? Look how far he's fallen. He probably was a tier 1 guy not too long ago. But otherwise, I think it is a good list. I just think that there's one glaring error, and that's the one that we're talking about, Ron. There's always something to get us talking. And this is almost the perfect tiers. And then they had to mess it up.
Yeah, I mean, Russell Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett clearly hacked his way down to tier 3, so he screwed up Russell Wilson, according to Sean Payton. That's the funny thing about Sean Payton, too. If you notice his comment, he said, I had my analyst hat on, not my coach hat on. So it's not that he doesn't believe that that's true. That's the thing. He never said, like, I'm sorry, that's not true. He just said, I was being too much of an analyst and not a head coach with my tact of how I said it, and I probably should have kept it myself. So he does believe it. Like, he truly believes Nathaniel Hackett did a hack job on the Denver Broncos. But when you look at these tiers, though, again, Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the top, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Kirk Cousins, they're saying top 12. Where he falls in that top 12, we can discuss that maybe on the round table, taking these tiers. And so let's put a top 12 together based off these tiers. So stick around, people, Friday for the Friday football roundtable. We're gonna take these 12 quarterbacks and put them in tiers based off the NFL execs and see where everybody's list falls on the roundtable. But I mean, honestly, first look at it, I'm gonna go. Of course, you go Pat Mahomes 1, Burrow 2, Allen 3, Rodgers 4. I feel like they kind of put it in order. They're saying Kirk Cousins is 12.
It's kind of where he always falls.
Yeah. Like normally I'm
Deshaun
always
Watson being 11. That would be my gripe.
Yeah, I would flip.
What has Deshaun Watson done in 3 years?
Correct. Yeah, I would flip Kirk Cousins and Deshaun Watson. Matthew Stafford, we know what he gives you. I honestly would drop Dak below just because of the interceptions. I don't know if you saw the recent video of Dak Prescott, somebody saying he's in midseason form, and he threw a go ball. And the receiver, partly his fault. He kind of like got walled off by J-Ron Curse. And so he wasn't able to make it back to the ball. And the safety like basically caught it like a punt. And so they said, here's Dak Prescott again, midseason form. Then another one he throws. and it's not his fault. The receiver dropped it, but he threw a slant. Guy was wide open, hit off his chest, interception. And somebody just said, man, if Dak keeps making these reads, he's going to throw 42 interceptions. Because I don't know if you saw, Sam, that Dak Prescott said he will never throw that many interceptions again. He's going to throw less than 10. I don't know where FanDuel is on that, but I'm definitely, if his interceptions for the season are 10, I'm just taking the over just because. Now, he might become Eli Manning and be scared every time and just throw it into the ground and never take chances, and they're not going to the playoffs. But less than 10 interceptions for Dak with that receiving core, I just feel like you only have CeeDee Lamb, and then after that, good luck. Yes, the guys are good, but CeeDee Lamb is his only true outlet. And it's just interesting to me when you look at this list. But yeah, I think Kirk Cousins, top 12, I see it. But I also feel like, Trevor Lawrence has to prove it, but we know he's like one of the best to come out of college. We haven't really seen his NFL ability just yet. He's made some great throws, had some great games, won the playoffs. But Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, Kirk Cousins, I think those three you can lump in together. Like, I think those three you can lump in together and say one of them is in the top 10. We're just not sure who. And then Deshaun Watson, I think you're right. He hasn't done anything. He should be 12, but he's not as bad as Kyler Murray. I think Jared Goff has a gripe, though. I think Jared Goff could say he should be in the top 12.
Down there at 15?
Yeah, down there 15. I think he should be in the top 12. But again, we know these are human beings they're asking this to. The GMs of the NFL, the coordinators and coaches are humans. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to have bias towards certain people. Certain people don't like certain quarterbacks because of, like I said, I think Jalen Hurts rubs a lot of coaches the wrong way, not on his own, but because of how the system works. Like, a lot of coaches, like, he if he couldn't run, what could he be? Well, he throws the ball well. Like, I hate when people say that, like, oh, if they weren't fast, what would they be? Like, okay.
Well, they
are. Right. Like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, my daughter actually got that a couple times where one girl said, if she wasn't fast, she wouldn't be on this team. Okay. Who else is going to steal bases? Who else is going to beat throws on simple ground balls? Her. So I had to teach her that. I'm like, don't feel like, oh, you're just on this team because you're fast. Like, that's a perfect reason to be on this team. Many men have made the NFL because they ran a 4.3 and they couldn't do much else. And they were just like, look, let's take a chance. This dude's fast. I mean, they put Usain Bolt in equipment with the Giants just to see a 6'5" running a 4.1. What could this dude do with a football in his hands if he ever wanted to play football, which is absolutely nothing. He sucks. I don't know if you ever saw the video saying Bolt, he sucks. But we got to get Gabe Henderson in. He's here to join us on the Ron Johnson Don't Hang Around Johnson segment. He's also going to stick around for the Daily 3. We're going to make this quick, though, today, people, because it's training camp day. It's U.S. Bank Stadium day as well. I'm doing my photo shoot at U.S. Bank Stadium. Excited. You guys are going to see all the promo videos for the Vikings Entertainment or the Vikings pregame show crew. You guys saw the billboard last year, U.S. Bank Stadium, if you ever went to a Vikings game. So we're going to shoot all that content today. And then also we got a preseason game we're going to do as well. We're not going to tell you which one, but you got to be there if you want to be in the commercial. So I would tell people now, show up to U.S. Bank Stadium for all these preseason games that are at home, because we are shooting a shoot for one of these preseason games. Can't tell you which one because I don't want you guys to cheat and just show up just to be in the commercial all football season. But they use this stuff all season. The stuff ends up on billboards. It ends up on trains, planes, and taxi cabs. I've seen my face everywhere during the season, which is actually kind of cool to see. So excited about that shoot today. But let's get Gabe Henderson in there. But before we do that, we have a word from our sponsors.
Excited for Gabe and excited for the football season at FanDuel. Ron, talking some smack about Dak Prescott. Well, you can bet against the Cowboys. You can bet under 6.5 wins. I'm looking at it right now at plus 600, and you can try to cash on Dak's interceptions. You can do that and so much more at FanDuel. You can bet baseball as well. The Minnesota Twins back in action in St. Louis tonight. They are minus 118 favorites with Pablo Lopez on the mound. You can bet every baseball game, the money lines, the run lines at FanDuel. New customers can go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. They can claim 10 times their initial bet in bonus bets back. Win or lose. Bet 20, get 200. Bet 10, get 100. That's the great promotion going on right now at FanDuel. That is a safe, secure, super easy to use FanDuel Sportsbook app. You get paid instantly when you cash the bet. No better place to bet baseball than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Again, the website, FanDuel.com/lockedon. Up to $200 back in bonus bets. FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball.
Hey, everyone, it's time for the Hang with Ron Johnson segment. Of course, I got Gabe Henderson joining me. It's a training camp day, so we got to bring Gabe Henderson on. Football is back. Vikings Entertainment Network, aficionado, manager, general manager of all things TV, football. But let's bring Gabe Henderson to the show. One of my friends now as well. Gabe and I don't just work together. We actually hang out every once in a while. We play basketball. We do some cool things together. But Gabe, first, man, you are a father now, so you're going into this football season as a father, and as the father of daughters. How is that, man? Like, how is that leaving the house and then coming home to that baby girl?
Man, it's like I just had somebody walking, but pretty much that's how it is. It's like I'm having a conversation with somebody, and then she just blurts into the conversation. It's like, you know what? That conversation doesn't really matter anymore because my daughter's talking. So just coming into fatherhood now, man, coming into year 4 in the league is like the best feeling, but also like one of the most challenging feelings because you don't want to leave home, right? It's just like, man, I just saw your face and like I just saw you smile at me. And it's just this level of protection that you kind of get when you see her face, see her smiling, see her light up. And it's the best feeling in the world around, like having girls, man, it's the best. So I'm looking forward to just seeing how this season goes. She'll be able to hopefully be able to bring her down on the field. She was at practice yesterday. So yeah, I'm excited, man. It's the most rewarding, but also the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, man, like kids are not easy. Never gets easy. It never gets easy. Not gonna lie. So good luck. You got I'm 12 years in with 2 girls. It does not get easier, but it does get funner. The older they get, you start to see the conversations, but you still have the worry. But talking about this football, man, there's some things we're not worried about anymore. Danielle Hunter signed $17 million guaranteed, $20 million with incentives. Smart move on the Vikings part. He was only supposed to make $5 million this year. They paid him early last year, gave him the whole 72. So this would have been a $77 million 5-6 year deal. Now it makes it, right around $92 million. Guys made a lot of money, but now he has the conscience and it's off his shoulders to just go out there and play football. But what does that mean to the Vikings defense to have Danielle Hunter opposite Marcus Davenport?
Yeah, his presence alone adds an extra boost to this Minnesota Vikings defense. So just saying what Danielle, what his production is when he's on the field versus when he's off, like that pretty much speaks for itself. When he didn't play in 2020 and when he didn't play in 2021, this wasn't a playoff team. He played all of last year in this Minnesota Vikings team. Say what you want about the defense and the stats, but he led the team in sacks and they were a playoff team. I believe his leadership, vocal leadership is something that he wants to work on, but his physical leadership and his how he goes about his business, like that is something that you won't get in another player on this defense just right now because they haven't been here as long as him and Harrison Smith. So when you line Danielle Hunter up next to a guy, Marcus Davenport, who has the most upside on this defense, in my opinion, that only causes a lot of problems for opposing offenses. I'm just hoping they both can stay healthy this year because I believe those two could be a better duo than Za'Darius Smith, who I believe is a phenomenal football player, but I believe it can be a better duo than Za'Darius Smith and Danielle Hunter last year.
Yeah, and Chris Carter was out there at camp, and you see the Vikings Entertainment Network or the Vikings socials kind of posted a bunch of catches saying, when the Hall of Famers in the building, you got to step your game up. Justin Jefferson making one-handed catches, making acrobatic, jumping in the air, twirling catches. One of the catches of which I was going to hate, but I didn't hate. I feel like Harrison Smith would have blown him up if it was actual pads, but I'm not going to hate on that because they were giving Kirk Cousins a ton of credit on that throw. And I'm like, you might have got him blown up. That was 2-man. Harrison Smith, you can see in the video, laid off of him. But when you see Justin Jefferson make these catches, man, you see Kirk Cousins trust and just put it up there for him. The one-handed catches that seem very mundane to Justin Jefferson. What does his energy bring to training camp, especially with fans out there now?
Yesterday in practice, it was the first padded day. And, like you said, those throws in 2-man, like those same throws yesterday, it was either getting intercepted or a lot of the receivers had like alligator arms, so they weren't reaching fully out because it's like, I don't want to get hit. But to start practice off yesterday, Justin Jefferson ran from one side of the field to the other side of the field, like pointing towards the bleachers and waving at all the fans, like literally just waving, everybody screaming. And for a guy like that who knows he's a superstar, who knows that all those people are out there to see him, he gets it. So that energy not only affects the fan base and affects the people that are out there and all those kids, but it also affects the team. It's like, okay, our best player is getting the fans up. Our best player is feeding into this energy. So let's match that energy. Let's put on the show with him and basically raise our level of play, which will ultimately make this team better. So Justin Jefferson, I posted a clip yesterday of him doing one-on-ones with Byron Murphy. Ron, you know, a perfect ball in the perfect route beats perfect coverage every time. And that's pretty much what it was. And Kirk Cousins stepping his game up. Justin Jefferson, it looked like he got better this offseason. And just knowing that alone, that's going to be scary for opposing defenses. So I can only imagine what this offense looks like once, you know, real games start to happen. But if it's anything of what we've seen thus far with Justin Jefferson's energy, this will be a top 10 offense this year.
And when you look at, you were on the NFL Network, congratulations to that as well. I know you killed it. I watched a little bit of it. The weekend together, and when you think about getting back together weekend, sorry, with the NFL Network, but Bucky Brooks and Steve Weiss were here, and you sat down with them. But what, from a national perspective, what was their view on the Minnesota Vikings, knowing Kevin O'Connell, Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson's kind of set, TJ Hawkinson? I mean, we know all the names on offense, Christian Darrisaw, but then defensively, you got Danielle Hunter, you got Harrison Smith, and then after that, you're putting together a bunch of guys that haven't been out there together. So what was their national perspective on the Vikings?
Yeah, the least of their concerns is offense. Like, I mean, you score 30 points. That's pretty much what they were saying. Is like, this Vikings team is going to have to score 30 points every day. I mean, every Sunday if they want to, you know, at least be competitive. This was before Danielle Hunter had signed that 1-year extension. So they were talking as if they only have a pass rush that hasn't a pass rusher who hasn't really proved himself yet, and Marcus Davenport, and then Danielle Hunter was not on the team. So it's like, you know, hopefully D-Flow is throwing some creative blitzes out there, because when offenses figure this, you know, non-Danielle Hunter defense out, like it's going to be, I guess the score is going to be lighting up. So now that Danielle Hunter is back, Bucky will be at practice this weekend. I'm going to ask him that same question I asked this weekend. I'm like, what are your thoughts on this defense with Danielle Hunter, or with or without Danielle Hunter? And I'm sure his thought process will change. But at the same time, with Danielle Hunter on this defense, that conversations were, all right, with Danielle Hunter on the defense, this is a really good football team. Without, we don't know. Maybe they're second, maybe they're third in the NFC North. So it was good being on the NFL Network, kind of, you know, represent the organization. We're back together weekend. So I'm looking forward to more opportunities like that. But at the same time, when it gets down to nitty and gritty, you really want this team in purple to really be really good. So it helps when you're on there and you're trying to pump the team up and they actually have some kind of credibility to kind of go with my words. So I'm excited to see what the game looks like now.
And now that Kirk Cousins, like his teammates, because you can be a teammate of a guy, but you don't see the guy. Like, you don't see the moments. You don't see the big hits. You don't see the cringing of the ribs. You don't see the frustration of a head coach saying, let's let him work this out himself because he's a little bit pissed off right now. There's a lot of Kirk Cousins moments that I think a lot of people have a lot more respect for him now. A lot of people have a lot more appreciation for what he goes through when you talk about the playbook and the play calls and the verbiage and the jet sweep left, zip motion, 484 can it to, you know, outside left, you know, 383, you know, Zorro hero, you know, whatever. And when you talk about that, and does it feel, and maybe this is me, I'm a Kirk Cousins fan, of course, we know that. But does it feel like the teammates now even understand Kirk a little bit more? Because a lot of people before just would call Kirk Cousins like plain Jane, or drives a minivan, or does this. But do you think Netflix gave people a lot more insight into who Kirk Cousins is as a man?
Yeah, outside of the locker room, absolutely. Inside of the locker room, not so much. Like, Kirk has shown up this way every day for the past 4 years, and all those guys in the locker room know that. I mean, when Justin Jefferson or Adam Thielen, when they do press conferences and talk about Kirk, they basically say, like, you know, like, Kirk is who he is. Like, he has the dad swag. He doesn't try to change that for anybody. Like, he's going to wear plaid shirts, khakis, and flip-flops every day if he can, and basically go out there and play through a rib injury. So it really did give fans an insight of who he was as a person, singing to his kids after a playoff loss. Like, man, like who would have thought? Like who would have thought? But when you see Kirk around the building, he's that same guy. So I guess what people were saying, like he's like America's darling this year. Like he stole America's heart. So now that he is, I guess taking the world by notice, he was ranked 42nd best player overall in the NFL Top 100. So he's starting to get his respect. It's just more sort of capitalizing on that now. So I'm glad the world got to see them.
Yeah, and so Kirk Cousins, like you said, that's voted by peers, and that's voted, that holds a lot of weight. So when you think about Kirk Cousins being voted, because Patrick Mahomes said that, who's the most underrated guy in the league, and he said Kirk Cousins as far as quarterbacks go. And now Kirk Cousins is in the top 50 players. Now you see a lot of the NFL execs. He's in tier 2 on everybody's list now, because even before Netflix, people had him in tier 3. Like there was one publication that we talked about on the Ron Johnson show that had Kirk Cousins 3, and they had the audacity to have Justin Fields in 2. And now, since training camp has started, since the conversation of Justin Fields has to figure it out, since the talk of Kirk Cousins and Netflix and Justin Jefferson, look at these throws. Kirk Cousins now has solidified himself as a top 12 quarterback. He's the 42nd best player in the league. Do you think that people now will and maybe the stigma is still going to be there because the season hasn't started yet. Prime time, we know it's coming. The Eagles is coming on Thursday Night Football. But do you think that people will start to now give Kirk the benefit of the doubt in every situation? Or do you think that dark cloud of like Kirk Cousins can't win the big one will still hang over his head?
I think that dark cloud will still hang over his head until he proves people wrong. Like, I mean, it's great to be ranked top 50, but still it's like, we're ranking you top 50 just based off of your natural abilities. You took a team to the playoffs with 13 wins. So, man, you did something really good last year, but still you can't win those big games. And I think that's still going to be that, I guess, that theme for Kirk Cousins until he proves super wrong. And he had a great opportunity to do so. He has the same offensive coordinator for the second year straight, the first time in his career. Like, that's never happened. He has the same starting offensive line. He has the same 2 receivers like he had, pretty much the same offense sans Adam Thielen, but you get Jordan Addison, who was a Biletnikoff winner a few years ago, best wide receiver in college football. So all the chips stack in his favor. It's just more so of going out there and proving everybody wrong. Like, I don't think there's any excuse for him not to go out there and be dominant this year. It's the contract year for him. Like, he's not on the Vikings roster next year as of right now. So yeah, go out there and prove people wrong, but still until you do so, he can't win those big games, and everybody's going to continue to say that.
And last one before we get to the Daily 3, that's 3 questions. We're going to take about a minute each, me and Gabe. We're going to answer some questions quick. But before we get to the Daily 3, one quick one. Saquon Barkley did not want the $10.1 million guaranteed franchise tag, which means he could do anything he wanted, he would have got it. He then signs an $11 million deal. $900,000 is a ton of money. So I'm not going to ever make $900,000 not sound like a lot of money. $900,000, I would play for just $900,000. So it's a ton of money. And so when you think about, I'd pay for $500,000. But when you think about the Saquon Barkley deal with running backs, the Zoom call the running backs have, and then after Saquon Barkley signs, absolute chaos happens. Jim Irsay says, if me and Jonathan Taylor die, nobody's going to miss it. I'm like, whoa, like you just killed your running back to make a point? Like, he's like, my legacy is going to stand as the owner as the coach. Nobody's going to remember Jonathan Taylor. I'm like, bruh, you did not have to kill him to get your point across. Like, this is the same owner they got caught with like cocaine and money from an ATM. Like, what are you doing? And then you see Dalvin Cook. You know, the rumors come out. The Vikings offered him $7 million. That wasn't enough. I feel like that was leaked so that other teams knew like Dalvin wants more. But then what if Dalvin Cook goes out and signs for like 7.5 or $8 million? Do you think a lot of these running backs feel like their value is higher than it is? Or do you think teams just see what the Chiefs have been doing without a top running back, and they're like, look, this is the way to a Super Bowl. We don't need to pay a running back who may or may not make it the entire season.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that last point that you said is, why pay a guy that kind of money who is, one of the most injury-prone positions. I mean, players like Ezekiel Elliott, Todd Gurley, just those two names stand out to me that kind of got those big paydays and then just kind of dwindled as years went on. So it's like, why pay a player, top money if, he's not going to be available in 2 or 3 years? But, you only get paid based off of what you've done. So I get these running backs, as frustrations. It's like, this is what I've done. This is what I believe I earned because of what I've done. Like, don't pay me before what you think I can and can't do. It's more so like, pay me my market value now. So yeah, I feel bad for those guys. I don't know what a solution is. Maybe a running back gets top dollar and then he, I guess, runs for 1,200, 1,500 yards every year without getting injured. Maybe that's the solution. But until then, this is pretty much the state of the league. If I'm a running back, man, I'm probably trying to move my position to like linebacker or something. He's probably gonna get more money than I will once my rookie deal is over with. So yeah, it's kind of the state of the league. Like it is what it is. I don't like, Ryan. I'll be honest with you. I really don't know what a solution is in this case because both sides have a valid argument. So. Hopefully it gets solved soon. I'm sure Dalvin Cook could get picked up soon, but if the Vikings were offering Dalvin Cook $7 million for 1 year, they got it in Alexander Mattison. They offered him $7 million for 2 years, and he signed. So, it kind of is what it is at this point.
Yeah, and so it's going to get better, it's going to get worse before it gets better for these running backs, and then it's also going to come down to linebackers because once the running back kind of gets pushed out, what type of linebacker do you want? You don't need Andy Katzenmoyers anymore if you're not running lead zone. That's what C.J. Ham said. He said, if we're not going to run lead, why would I be? I mean, if you notice, C.J. Ham has gotten leaner, he's stronger, he's faster. He's like, look, I got to run outside zone. So I'm blocking outside linebackers. I'm blocking safeties and cornerbacks in the hole. I'm not running lead 20 times a game like we used to. I might run it once or twice. I don't need to be super heavy and big. And, and look at Hughes check, with the 49ers, same thing. He looks like a tight end now. He doesn't look like a fullback anymore. A lot of these quote unquote bigger fullbacks, they don't have what they used to have. And so it's very interesting, but we got to get to the daily 3. That's 3 questions. We're both going to take about a minute each so we can get out of here quick. But before we do that, people, I want you to know SiriusXM is a proud partner with Locked On Sports. Just make sure you visit SXM in the app market. When you go download the app, you can get all the Twins games. You can get Locked On Sports Minnesota as well. Just download Locked On Sports Minnesota on the SiriusXM app. And remember, the Twins are playing the St. Louis Cardinals tonight at 6:45 p.m. You can catch every pitch of the hometown broadcast with the SXM app. Just search Twins. Well, now it's time for the daily 3. We're going to bring Sam Extraman to the show. And you guys know that's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. It's part of the show I love. It's fast paced. It's fun. We're going to give Gabe about a minute, and then I'm going to pick it up where he left off. I'll probably take 30 seconds. But take it away, Sam.
All right, Gabe. Let's kick it off with this. One of the big winners of the first week of training camp, Juwan Williams. No one really batted an eye when he got signed, but here he is. He's been the starter for most of camp with that cornerback group. So, Gabe, with Juwan Williams in the mix, how do you feel about the cornerback depth?
I like it. Why not start a veteran cornerback who's played some valuable football for arguably the best coach in NFL history and Bill Belichick? We know Juwan Williams, he got drafted in the second round a few years back, and injuries kind of derailed his career. But when he was playing, he had some valuable reps. So you bring that valuable, veteran leadership here. Hopefully those young guys, the Andrew Booths of the world, Caleb Evans is starting on the other side, but Mekhi Blackmons of the world. Hopefully those guys can learn from him, and then when it's their opportunity, now they can finally rise their game up to the level of play. So I'm a fan of it. I feel like it's Juwan Williams' job to lose. So I understand what Brian Flores is doing, and why not start Caleb Evans, Byron Murphy, and then Juwan Williams like that? That makes sense to me.
Yeah, when you think about Byron Murphy being able to travel, Ryan Clark, friend of the show, he mentioned when he and I talked that Byron Murphy is a traveling cornerback. For those who don't know what that means, he can go anywhere. He can take a guy across the field. He can go in the slot. He can move. If you motion, he doesn't feel out of place. And so what I like about Juwan Williams, at 6'3", 212 pounds, you got a Caleb Evans at 6'2". I mean, these are some long, tall. You guys know we had Mel Blount Hall of Famer, Pittsburgh Steeler, my godfather on the show, Uncle Mel. And he talked about that. He said the difference in a lot of cornerbacks is that when you have a guy, which was Mel size at 6'4", he's like, you forget about the arm length. I can create space. Jawan Williams, and I'm talking to Mel Blunt, Jawan Williams can create space with his arm length, jab, and still have about a yard between him and the receiver, so he has a chance to make up. A guy like Byron Murphy has to be a little bit quicker twitch. So I do like the Jawan Williams addition to that defense. I think if Brian Flores is playing a lot of two-man to get after the quarterback, why not have a guy that can jam knowing I have safety help? And if I'm beat by a yard, my arm length, I said the same thing about Caleb Evans, that arm length, if they're beat by a yard, they're not actually beat. Watch Garrett Wilson versus Sauce Gardner. He has him beat. He knocks the ball down. He's beat by a yard, but he still knocks the ball down because his arms are so long. That's what long, tall, skinny cornerbacks give you, and that's why I think Brian Flores, so far, he's given the job to him. What you got next, Sam?
Yeah, next up in the Daily 3, Gabe, you got 4 primary running backs, I'd say. You got Madison, you got Wongwu, you got Chandler, you got McBride. What do you think the running back depth chart looks like right now? And I guess what would your ideal running back depth chart be?
Yeah, as of right now, it's probably, well, Madison is number 1, but 2A to B, who I believe is the number one talking point right now, is who takes that second, I guess, that backup running back role, and it's between Kene Nwangwu and Ty Chandler. Dwayne McBride, he's going to find his pockets to get in. He's kind of that, I wouldn't say emergency running back, but kind of, that guy that you put in if somebody goes down or 2 guys goes down, and I believe he can rise to the occasion. But I would probably go Ty Chandler as my backup. I was coaching. That's no knock to Kene Nwangwu. I believe he's a really good player. I mean, hopefully kickoffs are still a thing this year, and he can return one to the house. But still, I'm interested to see which running back kind of I guess adds on to what Dalvin Cook was able to do. Yeah, Dalvin Cook, had 2 positive runs and then a negative run last year, but those 2 positive runs that he had, he was making plays, and that's one thing. That's the biggest question mark about Alexander Mattison. Yeah, he's healthy, he can run forward, he's going to get that extra yard, but can he make a play out of nothing? Can he juke 2 or 3 defenders, break a couple of tackles, and turn what's supposed to be a 3-yard gain into a 30 gain? That's what Dalvin Cook could do for you. So Alexander Mattison, Ty Chandler, Kene Nwangwu, and then Dwayne McBride. That's probably my 4 in that order.
Oh, yeah, kids. Not much I can add to that. This is what I will say, though. I agree with the kickoff. I think the kickoff is going to determine where Kene ends up. It sucks to say it that way, but I think as a special teams coach, because I've been in that coaching room, I've watched them move that magnetic. I don't even know if they use a magnetic board anymore. They might have a new technology, but the magnetic board of names. And for those that don't know, it probably is. It's probably super nice and sexy and has the the whiteboard that schools use now for kids is all digital. But we had actual magnets, and so we had the offensive guys and we had the defensive guys. And as a receivers coach, I went in with my the head receivers coach, and I was under Clyde Christensen, and we knew we had Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison. From there, we had to look at who's wide receiver 3. We put them in there. From there, we don't touch it. We let the special teams coach say, here's my special teams receivers. And so I think the same thing is going to come down to these running backs. Where do you fit in the special teams run? As a receivers coach, is my receiver the kick returner and not your running back? CJ Ham, actually, so if I were to do it, if we're not thinking Kene Nwangwu is going to be needed for kickoff because you might have Brandon Powell back there, you're going to have, here's what a 3 would be. You're going to have Madison, Chandler, and then CJ Ham will actually play running back. And I think that might end up being your 3 going into game day. Because if you know you're going to have 12 personnel and go more 2 tight ends because you bought in a big tight end from the Ravens. TJ Hawkinson, you want him in the game at all times. You want Justin Jefferson and one of the receivers. Could be Jordan Addison. So I think it might come down to actually CJ Ham showing he can play true running back. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, because if they don't need him at kick returner, I think Kene is going to be that 53. Like, what do we do? Like, how do we get to 49 on game day? That might be the one that ends up saying we don't need a kick returner today. So what's the last one, Sam?
All right, I got some FanDuel action here for Danielle Hunter. I got 2 potential Danielle Hunter bets. Tell me what you're going to take. And Gabe, you can't bet. We know that. This is just for fun. This is just theoretical. Danielle Hunter, 10 or more sacks on the season, which is about even money, or Danielle Hunter, 30-1, to be the sack leader
Ooh.
in all of the NFL, 30-1. What would you do?
I would go 10 or more sacks. I believe, and I know this kind of sounds crazy, but I believe right now our DB room is better than the way it was. It's better than what it was last year at this point. So when your DBs are better, that gives your pass rush a little bit more time to get to the quarterback. And Neil, he only needs an extra half second. I mean, him and za'darius led the league in quarterback hurry. So clearly they were a half second late. So I'm taking. I can see Daniil getting 12 and a half sacks this year, or 13 sacks, just because of the elevated level of play from our secondary unit. So I'm taking that. I probably would say he lead the NFL in sacks. I don't know if Brian Flores has ever had a pass rusher lead the NFL in sacks. I don't know if it's like his forte since he blitzes so much. The guys are coming from so many different angles, but Daniil is going to be rushing quarterback every single play. So, yeah, he's getting more than 10 and a half.
I'm going to say 10 and a half. Yes, more. He's going to get more than 10. So he's getting 10 and a half, 11, 12 maybe. I'm not going to say sack leader. The 30-1, though, I still might put a $5 bet on that. I mean, come on now. It's worth it. He might have a ridiculous, like he knows he wants a payday and he goes for 20 sacks. But here's the problem with that 30-1. You got Nick Bosa. You got Hassan Reddick. You got Myles Garrett, who now has za'darius on the other side. So right. I think that's going to be very tough with those three still up there. Nick Bosa and the 49ers are still really good. We know the Eagles are pissed off. So Hassan Reddick, and he's just figuring it out too. Hassan Reddick is young. He's just figuring it out like, oh, okay, this is how I bend that corner. And then of course, Myles Garrett, he's just, he looks like he's in stupid shape. He did NBA. He went to the NBA Summer League and actually warmed up and played a little bit. Like the guy's a freak athlete. So when I look at those three, I'd say in order to be the sack leader this year, I think somebody has to hit 19 sacks. 18 to 19 sacks would be the sack leader. And I don't know, and I agree with Gabe on that. I don't know if Flores just lets one guy go. I think he's going to have a bevy of sack packages and blitz packages and pressure packages. Like when we had Coach Chris Rump on. It's controlled chaos. You might not understand who's coming when, but we understand it, and it's just to confuse the quarterback. So yeah, I don't know if Daniil Hunter is going to be the guy every single time, but I do like Marcus Davenport, how he looks already. He looks imposing. He looks scary. He looks like the number 0 Monstar. I couldn't figure out what he reminded me of, but I saw like a clip of Monstars on Twitter, and the dude that wore 0, I'm like, oh, that's definitely Marcus Davenport. Like standing up over a center, that's very scary. But I think that we both are right on that. I think he's going to get over 10 sacks, but sack leader, I don't know. That's going to be tough.
Marcus Davenport's 100-1, by the way.
Yeah, no.
From half a sack to the sack leader.
I don't know about
the
that.
Brian Flores effect.
100-1, though. I mean, $5 gives me $500. So why not? Like, who knows? All of a sudden, Daniil Hunter's getting triple teamed, and Davenport's just by himself over there all season long. Hey, pays out $500 if it happens, but it won't happen. We all know that, people. Don't waste your money on that. But I will say, people, FanDuel, you guys, I told you I'd pay off that bet, pay off the tees. Please put money on the over. Daniil Hunter will get more than 10 sacks. Trust me, that is the lock for Locked On Sports. Go to FanDuel, bet the over on Daniil Hunter right now because as the season and preseason goes, that number is going to go up because the more people that bet on the over on the 10, they're going to move that number up. So get it while it's at 10, just like I got the Nuggets. Before it went up, I got them at 5.5 to beat the Lakers, and they won by 6. So get it before it goes up, people, early on. That's the best time. Super Bowl, too. Those Super Bowl contenders. We saw somebody last year hit the nail on the head and got paid a ton of money, like $87,000 on like a $5 bet by figuring out what two teams would make the Super Bowl and who would win. So don't forget to do that one as well. It's only $5. It might get you $87,000 if it hits. So feel free to do it. But again, I'm Ron Johnson. That's Gabe Henderson. That's Sam Extra. Make sure YouTube. We thank you guys for watching on YouTube, Amazon Fire, and Roku. You can get our show there as well. And then, of course, wherever you get your podcast, please download, like, and subscribe, and communicate with us. We love to communicate on Twitter and Instagram every time we load a video. But I want you guys to have a great day and enjoy some football if you're going out there.